Hi everybody, I'm Margie Dewey, and I wanted to do a recording of my dad's life story. And today we're going to go ahead and start with his early childhood. All right, go ahead.
Well,
Your name?
my name is Gordon D. Williamson, and people always ask me what the D stands for, and I said it stands for D, D-E-E. Okay, I was born in 1938 in a little town, wasn't little at that time, it still isn't, called Payette, Idaho. It's about 30 miles south of Boise, to orientate you. I was born in my grandma's house, my daddy's mom. A big brick house with a set of concrete stairs up to the first, I guess you'd call it porch. And I have a bit of a memory of playing there. Of course, not the day I was born, but later on we go back and visit because we lived out of town in the same in Payette. And it was a empty lot next to it that had a house, and it was torn down, and all that was left was a basement, and it was open air, everything. So we would always play in there, and mom and dad and grandma would always say, "Don't play in there; it's dangerous. You get hurt." But we would anyhow. And the one memory I have, which must have been a very traumatic memory of that house, is my mom and dad had gone on a trip somewhere and left us with grandma, and it seemed like it was months that they were gone, but I'm sure it was only a couple of days. So I was very emotionally upset when they were gone so long. And I remember him when they came home or came to grandma's house to pick us up. I remember crying, and I remember he brought me a little red sailboat.
Your dad?
Yeah, my dad did. Yeah, and that was such a vivid, very vivid memory for some reason. It couldn't have been more than 4 or 5. And
Did you tell your mom and dad's name? I forgot.
no, my dad was Isaac Lorenzo Williamson.
Okay.
And
Do you know when he was born?
No, I got it in my ancestry.com, but I can't remember right now. And my mom was Virginia Pearl.
Like my middle name?
Virginia Pearl Lytle, Lytle, Lytle. And her mother was Bertha.
Oh, goodness. Beautiful name.
And the strange part about it was she got her middle name. My mom got her middle name, Pearl, from her dad.
Oh.
Her dad was Joseph Pearl Lytle.
Wow. That's crazy.
Pearl is a strange name for a man.
So how old were you when you were left with your grandmother?
I was like I said, about 4 or 5.
Oh, 4 or 5. Okay. So do you have any memories earlier than that?
I have memories, but I'm not sure it was before or after that, because we lived in this little cracker box house outside of town, and I remember playing in the ditch in front of that house. There was no water in it. It was just I was just playing around and digging in it, and I found a old cowboy gun buried in the ground. It was
Oh, real gun.
a real gun, and it was all rusty. Nothing would move or anything like that. But I took it into my dad, and that's the last I remember of it. Until when I grew up, I asked him what happened, and he said, "What we thought it was dangerous. It had bullets in it and everything, and so I took it away from you."
Did he keep it for himself and use it, or you don't know?
All he said was he took it away from me, and that's the last I heard of it, one way or another.
Okay, so your little house that you lived in when you were first born, did it have running water? Did it have electricity? Did it have
Well,
indoor
I wasn't
plumbing?
born in that house outside town. I was born in my grandma's house.
Okay.
And that had all the amenities.
What about where you actually lived?
Well, when I actually lived, we did not have running water.
You had electricity?
Yeah, we had electricity, but we had a dirt floor
Oh.
in the kitchen. In the kitchen and dining room area combined. It was not very big. It wasn't much bigger than this whole room. The whole house wasn't much bigger than this whole
Oh,
room.
wow. So did you have your own bedroom?
Well, at first we didn't, but then later on, they found one of those old, I don't know where they found it, but they got an old teardrop trailer, if you know what that means,
Mm-hmm.
a teardrop trailer. And they butted that right up against the back of the house, against the back door, So when we walked out the back door, we walked right into that trailer, and that was me and my two sisters' bedroom.
I never knew that.
Hmm?
I don't remember you ever telling us that before.
Yeah, well,
What about, so you didn't have indoor plumbing, so what was your bathroom?
no, we didn't have indoor plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the outdoor shanty, the little back house, back of the house that had to be redug every once in a while.
How far away was it from your house?
I couldn't remember distances. Probably more than 20 yards, I guess.
So when it was cold and snowy, you said you had like a jar or something you kept in your room?
Well, I don't remember that part. I don't remember having to go in the bathroom. I don't remember much about even the back door shanty, but I remember we didn't have indoor plumbing, so we must have had one outdoor. Now the jar you're talking about was later on when we moved back to Apple Valley.
Oh,
Not back,
a different home.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first house you had a little, you're calling it shanty, but we know it as an outhouse.
Yes.
Okay. And did it snow a lot there, or do you not remember that part?
The what?
Did it snow a lot where you lived there?
Oh yes, I remember when I was in first grade. I went to first grade there, and something happened that would have, in today's society, would have been very, very frowned on. But I was coming home from school on the school bus. Snow. It was snowing down. I had 10-foot drifts alongside the roads. And when we come to my bus stop, the driver didn't stop at my bus stop. And I was too shy to say anything. So I was just sitting there way back in the back of the bus crying. And this older child, I don't remember, I can't remember who it was, asked me what was wrong. And I said, he didn't stop at my bus stop. We were past my bus stop. So she went up and told the bus driver. We'd already gone probably half a mile past my bus stop. And he stopped and he says, well, I'm going to try to turn around and go back there. And so it was one of those big, long, overlong buses. And he got stuck in the middle of the road with front wheels in the ditch and the back wheels in the ditch.
No.
And so he said, well, I'll keep trying to get it off, and if I get it off before you get home, but you could just go ahead and walk home. Now I'm saying, I'm 6 years old, and it's snowing like you can't believe, blizzard, and snow, like I said, 20 foot deep on the side of the road, and I walked all the way home in that snow, and
so you were all cold and wet probably by the time you got home?
I don't remember being wet. I remember I was awfully cold. And like I said, that bus driver would have been put in jail, I think, if...
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
What about, did your mom work when you were little?
Yes, my mom always worked. I guess when I was little like that, I don't think she's working. My dad worked in the sugar factory in Nessa, which is probably be 20 miles away. He worked there as he cleaned out the sugar factory had a byproduct of beet pulp that they fed to the cattle, so they had cattle. So he worked cleaning up the cattle doo-doo, after the cattle, and he recalls, he told me one time that he got fired from there because he was tired of doing that. And so on his time card, he wrote down his job title, and instead of saying, manure, he said cleaning up shit.
Oh.
And they brought his time card back to him and told him to change it, and he wouldn't, so they fired him.
Oh my goodness. What kind of vehicle did your dad drive at that time?
He had a 1934 Chevy Square. I wouldn't call it a square back, but it was a square with a canvas top, not like a convertible. Just the inside rim of the thing. And that brings up another memory where one time me and my sister Noreen, who was a year younger than me, were waiting out by the road because we knew about him time to come home. And we seen him coming down the road, and we got all excited and standing in the middle of the road. And when he got about 100 yards from us, a wheel came off the car.
Oh no.
And the car come to a dragging stop, but the wheel kept rolling right towards me and my sister, and it was coming pretty fast.
Oh no.
And it missed us by inches, but we went right between us. So
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever heard that part, that story.
we would have been killed, I'm sure, if we
Really?
the tire would have hit us. Yeah.
Oh, so why don't you go ahead and explain like your birth order of your siblings, you and your siblings?
Well, my sister Lois was born first, and about a year from mine, and then I was born, and then my sister Noreen was born a little less than a year after me.
Wow, y'all were boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and so most of we grew up, pretty close together, and it was this little cracker box house that we lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Right next door there was a little blonde girl that I was always in love with. She was the same age as me.
And you were like 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah.
And
And her name was Eleanor Henry. And that's another strange thing. We didn't have a telephone, but they did. So anytime we needed to make a call, we always go over there. And to this very day, I still remember that telephone number.
what was it?
562R1.
Wow, didn't you have like words in front of the numbers back in those days?
Not words, but letters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so back, in the song Fleetwood 775 or whatever, that was like in New York and stuff like that. But in a little dinky town, we just have
A letter
a
or
letter
something.
or something, yeah.
Interesting. And it was just like 5 numbers or something?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we didn't have area codes. And we didn't.
And so did your you said your mother wasn't working. Did your mother drive at that time when you were really young?
I don't recall her doing that, so I don't think so.
Okay.
We had one of the saddest stories about showing us how poor we was. My dad was working, but we still had very little money. And that was in the 40s, of course, and before the war. And one time my mother, if you remember, I said I had a dirt floor in the kitchen, in the living room, and dining room and kitchen. Well, it's the whole house really, because like I said, it was only bigger than this room here. And we didn't have any food, we were hungry. So she went out to a agriculture potato field that had already been harvested, and she dug up some of the ones that were missed, and she brought them home, and she made us some potato soup. And I love potato soup. And from that day on, I still love potato soup, but she took all the time to cook it, and then she put it in a glass bowl, and she set it down on the table, and she called us kids. And my sister Noreen come running up to the table and put her elbows up on it and lifted up her feet. And that caused the table to tip and turn over, and the glass bowl fell on the ground and broke and mingled into the dirt and all that stuff. So we still didn't have nothing to eat.
Oh. If it hadn't been for the glass, you probably still could have picked some of it up, but not with the glass.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so terrible and sad. Was your mother really angry?
I don't remember that. I remember that I was angry at
You
my
were so
sister.
disappointed that you didn't get to eat the soup. Oh, that's terrible. So you went hungry a lot?
Oh, yeah.
And you were skinny?
Oh, yeah.
And you liked to run around barefoot when you were a little
Oh,
kid?
yeah, I never wore shoes.
Did you go to school barefoot?
No, in school I wore shoes, of course.
Okay.
You have to wear shoes in school.
Uh-huh.
But
Did you ever wear suspenders with no shirt under it like I see on TV
no,
shows? and
what
stuff?
I would wear was Levi's,
Uh-huh.
and that's it.
And no shirt?
No shirt.
And you went to school?
Oh, no, man, I'm during the summertime.
Oh, when you're playing and stuff.
Yeah, and barefooted and then Levi's. And
The school, what about the school? Was it like a one room schoolhouse or
no,
lots
that was
of
pretty
classroom?
modern for that time. Later on, when I was in I don't know, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, or no, actually 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th, we had this almost like a one-room schoolhouse. It was 2 stories and had several rooms, but it was a brick one with big old wide steps going up to the thing. But I want to tell you about the time in school in my 1st grade, where I found a razor blade. I'm not 6th grade, 1st grade. I found a razor blade, double-edged razor blade. I don't know where I found it, but somewhere on a playground. And I was trying to bend it to break it to make these two halves, I use it like a knife.
Ooh.
And when I did, it slipped out of my fingers and sliced my fingers.
Yikes.
And I was very worried about, bleeding to death and all that stuff. So I went to tell the teacher, get some medical attention. And I was too ashamed to tell him that I did it myself. So I told him that this big boy had held me down and cut my fingers with a razor blade. And there was a big manhunt to try to find out that.
Like some phantom came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And they were trying to find that that bad boy that cut my fingers. So, and another time in that same school, same year, I was mad at somebody, some guy, older guy, picking on me. And so I devised a trap for him that was diabolical. Really would have, if it worked, the physics weren't right, but I didn't know that because I was only 6 years old. What I did is I took two sticks in the ground and tied a string across them, and that's going to trip him, right? And then I measured from my feet, if I fell, to my eyeballs, and I dug a hole for like your head, and put two sharp sticks where the eyes are. And I imagined him walking down, tripping over that dinky little string, falling and piercing his eyeballs with those sharp sticks. And luckily, he never did that. So.
And he might have been taller than you or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So it wouldn't have worked. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh. How funny. We think of silly things when we're kids. So that was stuff that you remember from birth to like first grade or
Yeah, and also we had a dog named Pooch, and when I was in first grade, and lived in that cracker box, and I had a 12 gauge shotgun barrel only, and just the barrel, you kind of break open and take the barrel apart and take stuff. And I would take him out in this big weedy place behind my house, and we'd go pheasant hunting. And when I shaked up a pheasant, I'd go bang bang, and then he'd run over and run around, happening to really excited about shooting those pheasants. Of course, they never fell.
You never got any.
Yeah, I never shot any because bang bang doesn't kill them.
Oh, you did. Oh, you weren't able to aim. There was no barrel to shoot it out of.
It was just the barrel. It didn't have the hammer and the stock and all that stuff. Just the barrel. So it wouldn't shoot unless you had to, close it and put the.
Did it explode or something?
No.
You said bang bang.
Yeah, I just said bang bang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So did your dad ever take you fishing and hunting when you were little?
Not at that time. Later on, when I grew up, when we were in Apple Valley, we did a lot of hunting. But we moved to, like I said, I was in the first grade there in Payette. And then we moved to a town a little bit closer to Apple Valley called Nissa, Oregon. It was right across the river from.
And you were in Oregon?
Yeah.
Instead of Idaho?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I say, the Snake, we lived right by the Snake River, and the Snake River at that point was the border of Idaho and Oregon. And in Nissa, I went to the second grade, and there's where I met what I thought was the love of my life, Sharon Glover, a little redheaded girl named Sharon Glover. And I loved her, and she didn't even know who I was.
Oh,
she didn't.
You loved her from afar.
Well, I tried, but to get close, but she always didn't like me. One example of that was me and Spud Phillips. We called him Spud because when he was little, his name was Taylor, and when he was little, he couldn't say Taylor, so he told him his name was Tater.
Oh, so you call him Spud because Tater.
So anyhow, me and Spud Phillips had heard rumors that they were giving away free ice cream sticks in the little convenience store across the street from the school. So we figured that's a good idea, a good deal. So we went over and looked in the ice cream container, and we saw this big words "free" on his package, on these little ice cream packages.
Were there ice cream or popsicles? Or?
They were milk tickles, milk nickel, yeah, it cost a nickel. But they were like ice cream with chocolate over top of it, and then on a stick.
Oh, nice.
And so we each picked up one and went across the street and were happily licking it, and we met Sharon Glover. And we told her there's free ice cream, and we go over and get her one if she wants some. And I said, see, it says here free. She says, you dummy, that doesn't mean it's free. this says if you save these packages and send them in, you get free
Whatever it was advertising.
toys. Yeah.
So you didn't read the whole thing. You just saw the word free.
Yeah, and so she says those weren't free, and you stole them.
Oh no.
Says, and I'm gonna go tell on you. So I like Taylor, but I don't like you, so I'm gonna tell on you and not Taylor. And I says, well, if you tell on me, I'm gonna tell on Taylor. So she liked Taylor, so she didn't tell on me.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Meanie.
Yes.
So how did you dress back in those days? Did you say you were kind of poor and you just?
Well, no, I was for some reason I guess we were a little bit better off than living in a house with a dirt floor, you know, and a cracker box. You got to be poor. But when we moved to Nessa, my dad was working full time as a mechanic in a garage, and I think my mom started working in the corn cannery in Nessa.
Cannery?
Yeah.
Putting corn in the cans, a factory kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a big.
Like conveyor belts and
yeah,
stuff. And,
right,
okay.
Right. Which is another story I'll tell you later on when I got a little bit older. Something about that happened. But anyhow, so I had, you know, my short sleeve shirts and pants and then regular shoes and didn't look like a little poor waif like I did.
You kind of blended in with everybody else.
Yeah.
What kind of shoes did children wear in those days, like going to school?
Well, I remember. I think I had a pair of Oxfords, but I remember getting
like saddle shoes type things.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I remember getting a pair of tennis shoes and amazing how light they were. Like I could almost fly with them.
Yeah, kids always think they can run really fast.
Yeah.
Were they like Chucks? Like Chucks?
Huh? The high top tennis shoes.
Okay. Which are the Chucks? The high top Chucks.
Okay.
They call them Chucks now. That's like the slang.
We didn't call them Chucks, you know.
Okay.
But
they've been around forever.
Getting into the, I grew up from, I guess.
And is Linda born yet? Linda is like a big.
No, Linda wasn't born until we moved to Apple Valley.
Okay,
and
so
I was 14 when she was born.
Oh, okay.
So.
You're almost there was almost the age stretch of Melissa to Casey.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. But I had a lot of adventures in Nessa. We lived with. Well, that was another poor house too. We lived in this little basement house right next to the railroad tracks. And back days, you know, living next to the railroad tracks is.
You were on the other side of the tracks.
Yeah, we were on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
Yes. And the reason it was dirty is because that was back when they had locomotives, you know, the steam engines, and had a lot of smoke. And when the engine would go by, a lot of cinders and
the black soot kind
black
of stuff.
soot would come. And if Mom had clothes out on the line, they would be covered with that soot. And I remember when there was a lettuce produce, not factory, but I guess processing plant, not maybe 100 yards away from where I lived, and they would take their culls and dump them into a big, about 5 foot wide and 5 foot high pyramid type row.
Are you saying coals?
No, lettuce. Lettuce processing plant.
And they would dump their what?
Their culls.
What's that?
That's the ones that they didn't want to sell.
The lettuce that was not attractive or whatever people
Right, yeah.
wouldn't want to buy. Okay.
Yeah, but it was a lot of still fresh, so it wasn't.
Still tasted fine, probably.
Yeah, so I would go sometimes and just lay in those cool package stacks and eat lettuce. I love raw lettuce.
That's funny.
And
I thought you were going to say you took some home so y'all could have lettuce.
I think
like
I
make
did too.
salads
I
or
don't
whatever.
remember that. All I remember is laying there and eating them.
Now, at this stage, were you ever helping in the fields or like doing crops when you were first, second grade, or was that later on?
No. It wasn't until third grade when I moved to Apple Valley when I started working in the fields. I was 8 years old when I was when I moved into Apple Valley, and I didn't really start working in the fields until I was about 9 or 10 or 12, I guess it was. And then, of course, when I got older in my teens, I worked, you know, really the heavy duty stuff, picking up 200-pound bales of hay and putting it up on a thing where I got all my muscles.
Wow. I'm trying to think. So in the second grade, you're still in the second grade era or third grade?
Yeah, I started in third grade on my when we moved to Apple Valley, and that's where my adventure as Huckleberry Finn started. Because from the time during the school vacation, from the time I was up until I wanted to go back to bed, I had free realm of the country. My mom and dad didn't seem to care where I went or how long I was gone. They didn't worry about me, doing.
Was that generally how most parents were, or like every kids could just roam and do whatever they wanted?
I don't know, because I was always usually a loner. I don't think so. I think I was more free than the rest of them.
Was this the time period where you were swimming in Snake River and
Yes,
stuff?
yes.
Was this the time period where somebody was floundering around in the river?
Yes.
Can you tell that story?
Well, I was probably about 14 then, and me and my friend Ronnie Bale had ridden our horses. I had a Mustang, and he was riding.
So you owned horses?
Oh yeah, we had a 13-acre place with horses and a cow and several goats. I was raised on goat's milk that time. But anyhow, we rode this down to the river, and we come up to our regular swimming hole, which I know that river like the back of my hand. I know the depth of it and everything else. So when we got there was a family there, and I guess a couple of guys, so maybe been two families. But a full-grown woman was in the water where I knew it was about 9 foot deep, and she was drowning. She was flailing in the water and saying, "Help, help!" And I guess they were in a state of shock because everybody was just standing there looking at her. It's just kind of, what do we do now? So I rode up there and jumped off the horse and jumped in the river and swam to her. And of course, when you find the person that's drowning, they grab you, and we both just sunk to the bottom. So I fought my way free from that and pushed her up to where she was in the breathing again. And then I went down to the bottom and grabbed her legs and just walked her I held my breath and walked her to the bank where they could pull her out. And while they were pulling her out, and I was getting out myself, and they were pulling her out and making sure she was okay, I just jumped on the horse and we rode off. So they never know who saved her
Who
life.
was that masked man?
Yeah.
What about that time you did something to your sister that she was in the water?
Oh,
Was
yes.
that what age were you at that?
That's probably about the same era,
Okay.
same time. The river had multiple little sand islands. Some of them were just nothing but sand. Some of them had trees, big enough to have trees and stuff. And there's an island, probably 50 yards, I'd say, away from that swimming area where me and everybody just swim. And we would on the far side where you couldn't see it from the swimming hole was a little beach, a little sandy beach. So me and my buddies were swimming over there, and we heard my sisters and some of her friends come in and jump in, and they were laughing and playing and splashing around. So I figured I see my old sister out there in the middle of about maybe 20 or 30 feet out from the bank, swimming around, and so I swam underwater from around the island and grabbed her legs, and she lost it because she knew that there was nobody else in the water, but something had grabbed her, so she just went crazy and couldn't swim. She was drowning.
Oh my goodness.
And so I came up came up and I looked at her, and she was so I went over to grab her, and she did the same thing. She grabbed me, and we both went down to the bottom. So I basically did the same thing with her. I went to the bottom and grabbed her legs and walked her to the bank. She was glad that I saved her, but she wasn't glad why I needed to save her.
Oh my goodness.
She was
So,
mad.
how wide was this river? Was it like really wide?
Well, it depends on where anywhere from 100 feet to 500 feet.
And was it like, how far away was it from your house?
It was probably half a mile.
Oh.
I used to walk the railroad track down to the river. He had a train bridge. We'd jump off the train bridge into the water all the time, which brings to another story.
What age were you in this story?
I was a little bit older. I was probably 15 or 16.
Okay, go ahead.
And me and two of my buddies from Nissa, from town, were working for a farmer not too far away from the train bridge. on the Idaho side. And what we were doing was picking corn, which is field corn, it's different than eating corn, and it dries, and that's the one that you feed to the chickens and stuff like that.
Is that the kind that turns different colors that people use for
No,
decorations?
that's popcorn. But this is just, it's what they use, they feed animals with this. It's very, very, very hard, like hard.
Just lower quality, people don't want to eat it, so
Yeah,
you get
and it's a different type of corn.
Okay.
So anyhow, what we did, he had a wagon pulled by a tractor that had 5 foot high sides, and we picked the cob off and throw it into this big tall wagon. And so after we worked for, I guess, several hours, and I guess we was getting tired or something, but somebody threw the corn a little bit too far, and it went over the wagon and hit the guy that's on the other side. So he thought that was mean. And
Not funny.
No, so he waited till the wagon went by, and he took corn cob and threw it at us, and we started throwing it at each other. And for no reason, the farmer got mad and fired all three of us.
No.
He was very, very unusual. Anyhow, so we're walking back to town across the train bridge, and one of them said, "You know, I think that was Gordy that threw that first corn cob." So let's throw Gordy off the train bridge.
Oh my goodness, how high up was it?
Well, remember I told you before, we should jump off it to go into the river. But the particular part I was at on the train bridge, we hadn't jumped off, so I wasn't sure about it. But I said, "Nah, let's don't throw Gordy off the train bridge." And they said, "Yeah, let's do it." So they picked me up my hands and feet, and they were swinging 1, 2, and I'm thinking, they ain't gonna let me. They're just kidding, they ain't gonna let me go. 3, phew, and down I went off the train bridge, fully clothed.
Was it scary?
Well, like I said, I didn't know that particular part of the river, but I knew it wasn't bad because I jumped off the train bridge before.
It's deep enough for you not to hit your head or anything.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, I knew it was gonna be deep enough. I just wasn't sure there was gonna be rocks too close in him. But I was all right. So
you survived?
They kept on walking, and I crawled out of the bank and caught up. And
Oh, such good buddies.
cussed them out.
With friends like that, who needs enemies? I was going to ask you to backtrack. So this home that you live in, what kind of home is this? What size and
This
quality?
had a bigger house. It had a kitchen and a dining room combined, and then it had a living room, and then the had been a front porch the full length of the house, because the kitchen and dining room was one room, and the other one was like a long trailer type house. Only it wasn't a trailer; it was a real house.
Uh-huh.
And the porch had been converted into other rooms, my mom and dad's bedroom and us kids' bedroom. But like I said, the porch had a slant to it. The floor did. So if you put a ball, it would roll right down. It was pretty steep, not steep, but obvious slant.
Yeah. So that was your room? You lived in a room that was a porch that got converted?
Yeah, me and mom and dad had a room on one end of it, and me and my sisters on the other end of it.
So the two sisters shared a room, and you got your own room?
No.
Oh.
All three of us kids lived in this.
Oh, you still had to share a room with your sisters. And so, did you have indoor plumbing here?
No. We had a back door shanty out there, and we didn't have any kind of running water in the house. We had a kitchen sink, but we had to carry the water in from a...
Was it like the...
Yeah, pump, regular old pump that you fill your bucket and then carry it and pour it into the sink up there. No bathroom at all.
So how'd you take baths?
We didn't.
Oh, you just stinky?
In the river.
Oh, wow. They didn't do like we see on TV where you get water from the pump and then boil it and then add it to a big, huge trough kind of thing?
Not in that house. We bought the land next door, which is 11 acres later on, so we had both 13 acre and 11 acres plot. And we had a pump house with an electric pump and had a faucet, but that was just cold water only.
It still didn't run to the house?
No, it was in the kitchen.
Oh.
We had, and at that time we would fill it, porcelain, not porcelain, what do you call those?
Tub?
Tubs, yeah. I don't know, but regular old wash tub, round wash tub with handle on it. we'd fill it with about maybe 8 inches of water.
Hot water.
No, well, water, and then we put that tub on this wood stove.
Oh
kitchen
wow,
stove.
wood stove.
Wood kitchen. Well, I put coal on it, but whatever they had to, use.
So you had to get coal or wood all the time when your mom cooked?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we put that in there and heat the water as hot as we could get it, and then carry it into the bedroom, and carry cold water in to get to the right temperature. And then we stand in that tub and wash yourself out. But we didn't do that very often because that was working.
A big chore, yeah.
Yeah. So what we do during the summertime, we go to the river and with bar soap.
Oh, with soap. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. And so was this the time period where it would snow really deep sometimes?
Yes.
And you'd have to make a what? What happened with that?
Yeah. This is snow would never snow that deep, but the wind would blow and make drifts.
Snowbanks. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, snowbanks and drifts 20 feet high. And my bedroom in that second house was right over the back porch. So if I had to go to the bathroom, rather than go down and dig a tunnel to the shanty out there into the snow, I would just get out on the porch and just number one, on the snow, make yellow snow.
Didn't you say one time you did that for a long time, and then you realized it was going on the side of the house?
No, that was the first house. What happened there on the first house, I would not, I didn't want to get up in the middle of the night and go, number one, even whether it was snowing or not,
Yeah.
I'd just stand by the window and
Pee out the window.
pee out the window. And then this house was a whitewashed house, so it was almost white, but it was getting very, very
Off-white or whatever.
no gray because it was so old. But I was walking down the road one day when I passed the house, and I noticed that on my window the paint was getting all awful yellow.
I wonder how that happened.
I don't know.
But you did have to dig tunnels at times.
Big what?
You did have to dig tunnels at times when the snow was really deep.
Oh yeah,
so
there
you
was
could
times
get to
the toilet
outhouse.
We would dig a tunnel through the snow to get to the because it had drifted like that was particularly wind would blow past the house and cause that's what would cause the drifts to come up because it was blowing. It was like a sand dune type. It was snow.
Mm-hmm. And so, did you guys have the moon cut out, the crescent moon cut out?
No.
Did you have anything to give light inside of there when it was?
No.
So it's pitch dark.
Well, it was not that airtight, so it was light coming through the.
So that's probably why they put those crescent deals, right? To have light coming in, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I know they did that all the time on TV.
But I do remember that we didn't have any toilet paper, so we had to use Sears catalogs and stuff like that.
That does not seem like it would be very absorbent.
Yeah. Yes, especially if you wadded it up, you have sharp corners too sometimes.
Yikes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you lived in, so what kind of stuff did you do in school or learn in school in those days? What kind of subjects did
Well,
you
we
have?
had. That's not very vague in my. It's kind of vague in my mind. I don't remember what class.
How old were you when you learned to read? And do you remember that?
I learned reading in first grade, of course.
Okay. What about kindergarten? Did you have kindergarten?
Didn't have kindergarten.
Okay, so you didn't go to school until you were in first grade.
Right.
So you learned how to read in the very first grade that you entered school.
Yeah.
And do you remember your teacher's name?
Yes, Mrs. Grimes.
Wow, you have a good memory. Did you like her?
Well, she was a typical old maid.
Librarian type that they show in movies?
Bun in her hair. She reminded me later on after I was growing up and I saw the Popeye cartoons.
Olive oil?
Olive oil, yeah. She was skinny and she had a bun in her hair. She was nice though.
Uh-huh. And then what did kids do typically for entertainment back in those early days of your childhood?
Well, we play outside and use our imagination. And
did girls do like jump rope a lot?
oh yeah, jump rope. My sisters would do that a lot. And
what did boys do? Did you play any kind of sports?
well, we would always ride our stick horses and play cowboys and Indians, and bang bang a lot.
You had like you just homemade sticks?
Yeah, just grab a branch off a tree and that was our horse.
You didn't get the fancy ones the kids get nowadays with
No.
a real looking horse.
Horse head on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Did you guys have like tire swings and stuff?
Not in the Not in the first house and not in the second house. No, we didn't have any trees in the second house.
How many animals? What kind of animals did you have?
Well, like I said, we had Pooch, and stayed with us from the time I was remembered until we moved to Apple Valley, and I don't know how long we've been there when he got distemper, and my daddy had to put him down.
Shoot him?
Yeah, and
that's sad.
there's a song called Old Shep, where he had to shoot him, and he knew he was gonna go, so he reached out and licked up my hand. That's Old Shep.
Oh, that's sad.
And my daddy told me he took him out to shoot him, and it was strange. He knew something was happening because when he had the gun and he'd take his dog, take Pooch, he'd be happy because he's going to go hunting. But this time he was very, very sullen and hanging his head.
You probably felt that emotion from your dad.
Somehow he knew.
They know.
And he said when he had to shoot him, he sat him down, let him sit there, and then he backed off a little bit, and he just kind of like turned his head and hungered a little bit.
The dog did?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he shot him.
That is so sad.
Yeah, that was so sad. I had the same thing happen to me when later on at Apple Valley, where there was a sheepdog that had turned rogue and was killing sheep. And he was one of the big
They say once they get the taste of blood, they won't stop.
The big shaggy ones.
Yeah.
And so me and there was a bounty on him. So me and my friend Ronnie Bale.
He's a wild dog?
Yeah. I took a shot. Yeah, I took a shotgun, and Ronnie took a 30-30, and we chased him through the woods. We found him, we chased him through the woods, and he was a pretty good evader because it took us a while to get him down. But what happened was, we brought Ronnie's dog, and was helping us, track him down, and we'd been running for an hour or so, and finally I was tired, so I came to a.
Keep going.
I came to a little clearing there, so I sat on this stump and was resting, and he kept on chasing him with his dog. And about 5 minutes later, that dog doubled back, and he come through this clearing and right in front of me. And he saw me with my shotgun, and he just seemed like Pooch. He knew it was over, so he gave up. He just sat down and kind of hungered and waited, and I shot him right behind his front leg and killed him.
Wow. Did you get the bounty?
Yeah.
Did y'all split it since you worked together?
Yeah.
That was nice.
It was only $10.
Oh, well, and so how old were you around this time?
I was 15 or 16, yeah.
15 or 16. So I was just going to ask, just out of curiosity, backtracking a little bit, what kind of did they have playgrounds at schools in those days?
Yeah. I don't know if you want me to tell about this story, but that's when I learned how painful it is when you have splits and you fall on something.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
I was walking the teeter-totter bar, the one in the middle. I was walking like a tightrope.
Yeah.
And my feet slipped off, and I fell down on that. And that's the first time I'd ever experienced that.
And how old were you?
I was in first grade. And I said, with that much pain, something has to have been, broken or something. Yeah. So I took it, went into the teacher and told her what had happened and how bad it hurt and all that stuff. And she knew what happened right away, but I'm still.
That was the first time, and nobody ever told you that. Your dad or nobody.
Well, what the bad part about it was, though, I was wearing trapdoor underwear. You know what that is?
Yeah, that's like you wear it to the outhouse or something, so you can just take the back part off.
Yeah, right. And I hadn't buttoned it up, and when she pulled my pants down to look, that fell open and it had a stain on it.
Oh no! Yeah,
I was so embarrassed.
What's that called? Tire tracks? Skid marks?
Skid marks, yeah.
Oh no. Well, nowadays a teacher wouldn't just pull your pants down.
I know.
Either.
Yeah,
lots of things have changed. Like if kids nowadays, me being a teacher, have any kind of problem in that area, we send them to the nurse. Yeah. The nurse is allowed to do that, and she documents and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I think that's a good place to wrap for today, and we'll just keep getting more, and you can think about more stories to tell. I enjoyed this. Good. And did it help that I was asking you questions?
Yeah,
I think it was helping you.
We kept jumping back and forth, but
helped bring up some more thoughts and memories.
Yeah, I would have given more details a lot in the thing if we hadn't jumped so much.
Okay.
Like how many animals we had in Apple Valley.
Well, you never did that. Go ahead and tell that part.
Okay.
Tell us your animals.
Well, like I said, we had 2 horses and
Like when you were first born in Little Tyke.
no, this is in Apple Valley.
So what about when you were first born in a
Nothing
little...
but Pooch.
Just the Pooch. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. And then when you moved to
Not
Apple
the
Valley...
Pooch, that was his name, Pooch.
And what kind of dog was Pooch?
He was kind of a mixed chow.
Oh.
And then in Idaho, in Nessa, Oregon, we didn't have any animals, well, except Pooch. And then in Idaho, in Apple Valley, we started out with goats. We had several goats. We had
And then you had the goat milk.
yeah, I milked the goats, and we had a Billy, male goat, and about 5 nannies, and
Did they have baby goats a lot?
oh yeah,
And did you sell the goats?
we'd eat them.
Oh, that didn't make y'all sad?
No.
You just...
Oh, well, we also had a sheep,
Okay.
and she had a real unique name,
What?
Lammy.
Oh.
And
Not Willie?
what was really neat about her though was she was trained to lead. We could put a rope on her, and she'd lead, and that made her very valuable to actual sheep herders.
Oh.
They would come rent her
Oh.
to change their pasture. In other words, they want to, you heard a story where sheep would just follow in.
Yes.
Well, that was true. They'd take her and just walk with her, and the whole herd would follow her.
So they wouldn't walk with just the person. They had the sheep was what made them follow. Okay.
Well, on our case, I don't know if they did it other than. Yeah, but they'd come and
Interesting.
rent her. We'd make money with her.
I don't know if you've ever told us that before. You might have.
Also, she is responsible for a scar right here on my ankle because
Sheepy or Lammy?
yeah, Lammy was, and we like to ride the animals, right? Goats have a very sharp backbone,
I bet.
and they're hard to ride. Even the billy goat with the nice handlebars,
Yeah.
he was hard to ride. But she was nice and soft and plushy.
Ah.
But she didn't like it. So I would always try to ride her, and this one time I was riding her, and she went up to a barbed wire fence and scraped it along the barbed wire fence.
Purpose.
On purpose, and gashed my ankle with something terrible.
And how old were you when this happened?
This would probably be 8 or 9, yeah.
Okay. I think it's okay that we're going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm hearing stories that I don't think I've heard before.
Okay, now I'm gonna tell you a story about the one goat.
Okay.
We had the nannies that I would milk. Each had their own specific. I'd always fill a pan with grain, or mash or something, and put it in front of her, and she'd stand still while I milk her. And each one of them had their own unique pan, and they know that if you mess with that pan, they think that when you mess with that pan, that they're gonna be milked, so they go away. Well, so I was out in the pasture one day, and this nanny was standing pretty close to her pan, and she lifted up her tail and started going potty, pee-pee. And so I just kind of kicked the pan under the stream, and she filled it up. And once she finished, she noticed that I had touched her pan, so she turned around, and she drank it.
Oh.
And I don't know if you've probably seen horses and other things when they get nasty tastes in their mouth, how they raise up their lip.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, she walked around like that for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but so she would drink her own milk sometimes?
Not milk, pee-pee.
I know, but she
Oh.
drank it, so I thought maybe that meant she would normally drink her own milk. When she
No,
filled up
because
the
I would
milk.
never,
Oh, that's where you put the food.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You put
And-
the,
and
what did you put the milk in?
in a bucket. And I
Okay.
would never let her, even get it close to that, because I would pick it up immediately.
Okay. And did your mom could you make any other kind of products out of milk?
She make a
From
lot
goats?
of cottage cheese.
Oh.
Yes, and we didn't actually make any butter, but later on when we had cows, when I had one cow, we used to make butter by just taking the cream into a mason jar and just shake it.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So that is your birth to early teenage years, your stories. Okay. I enjoyed this, Dad. We will do some more another time.